Milton Friedman's transition from the unknown challenger of the prevailing economic orthodoxy to the leading outrider of a new orthodoxy has occurred at breakneck speed. In the early 1950s, he was still very much the academic economist, one who as yet had written only a few short items on monetary theory. By the end of the 1960s, he had become the leading exponent of the Chicago School of Economics and was known throughout the world for his indefatigable emphasis on the importance of monetary factors in inflation. To the academic world, his restatement of the quantity theory of money, his books on monetary and international economic policy, and his titanic work on the history of money had made his views the focus of every macroeconomic debate. To the general public, he had become famous through his regular trenchant columns in Newsweek, his forthright economic advice to and criticism of leading politicians, and his uncompromising defense of the merits of the free market economic system. Friedman's rise was due in part to the speed with which the old economic orthodoxy failed after the Second World War. Expansionary policies that had been designed to stimulate a post-war economic recovery led instead to inflation, a result which was difficult to reconcile with the prevailing economic theories. Friedman's revival of an old notion that rising prices are the almost inevitable result of a large expansion of the quantity of money in circulation came just at the right time to establish itself as a new theoretical view that was at its strongest when explaining the very problems upon which the existing economics had begun to founder. However much Friedman's revival of the quantity theory of money had swung the academic debate in his direction during the 1950s and early 1960s, it still held little sway over the politicians or the monetary authorities themselves. Naturally cautious, they contented themselves with a patched-up version of the old ideas. It was perhaps the violence and swiftness with which the inflations of the early 1970s overtook a world without much belief in monetary policy that made the defectors to Friedman's ideas into the majority. This final development in particular was speeded up by Friedman's unquestioned artistry in promoting a cause. His ability to summarize the essentials of the quantity theory in a few short catchphrases and his direct and engaging way of arguing his case undoubtedly brought his theories to the widest possible audience. His popular articles and his defense of the market economy, capitalism, and freedom had already made his name well known. The success of his monetary theory and policy recommendations would certainly have been slower without them. For the few politicians and others who had not yet heard of him and his views, Friedman's 1979 book and worldwide television series Free to Choose must have made a large impact. It stands as a testament to his formidable persuasive powers. Although Friedman's interests and expertise have ranged far beyond the academic world and have made his ideas widely known and understood, it may be that these practical gains have been won only at the cost of confusion and some oversimplification of his ideas in the minds of laymen. Monetarism, as the new approach has come to be called, is often misinterpreted as a package of political judgments and policies as well as economic ones, and the confusion of Friedman's economics with the other views of the politicians who have endorsed them, together with Friedman's own support for limited government, is certainly a large part of the cause. Professional economists are probably much less confused on the matter, but even so, his presence and, it must be said, his success as a promoter of ideas on the public stage have led many of Friedman's colleagues to downgrade his contribution as an academic economist. Even in his technical writings, Friedman has always displayed an originality and a flair for attacking orthodox thinking that has generated occasional envy and frequent irritation in the profession. But his undoubted merit eventually prompted his fellows to elect him as president of the American Economic Association in 1967, an occasion which he characteristically used yet again to castigate the monetary authorities, although he had to wait another 9 years before his acceptability to the world's economics establishment was marked by the award of the Nobel Prize. Few people were surprised that the accolade should have gone to so original and influential an economist. Some were surprised that he had to wait for so long, but the wait was undoubtedly due to the fact that Friedman built his career outside the economics establishment, and did so by challenging virtually every major doctrine of mainstream economic theory. Nevertheless, Friedman's views have been gradually, if grudgingly, absorbed into a new economic orthodoxy, and what began as a one-man critique has now become a general attitude which has spawned countless research projects, with new names developing the themes in macroeconomic theory which he first identified and established. Although today there are few governments which would not pay at least lip service to Friedman's insistence upon the need for monetary control in the fight against inflation, it is remarkable how much of this new thinking has come directly from the mind of one man, and in particular how the intellectual revival of the quantity theory has been almost exclusively the work of Milton Friedman. That revival alone would probably have been sufficient to ensure the Nobel Prize for Friedman sooner or later.